Hey there, I hope you are doing great. Welcome to this episode of Money Mentoring Over Coffee. I got my coffee here with my Buddha mug. All right. I hope you are doing incredibly well. And I've got some questions lined up that came in, but I am totally open. Drew is in the house. Oh my gosh. Say hello when you're coming in. And if you have any questions or anything, let me know. We can bring you on live, have a conversation. This is all about you. This is all about us having a conversation around money, around wealth, around your business. Heck, I'll try to answer anything. What the heck? So I see my brother-in-law Chris just jumped on. So cool. I see some regulars and some dear friends. So grab your coffee. Let's talk money. Let's make it happen. This is kind of my way to do this. And this is the second episode of us doing this. And I actually might do this more often if it serves. Last time we were on for an hour answering questions, I brought some people on and we were answering their questions about their kids and money and that type of thing. So here's the thing. Let me start with kind of an interesting question that came up. And someone asked, they sent in a question. Now, I have a question hotline. If you go to askmelnow.com, you can actually leave a voice question or you can type a question in. That comes to me. I'll bring it on this show or I'll bring it on my main show, the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. But the whole idea is that I want to give you a safe, sane place to have conversations around money, around wealth, around business, around the things that really will start to drive your financial freedom. As you know, I believe that financial freedom is a birthright. We just need to make sure that we have the tools, the tactics, the strategies to go out and claim it. And so that's really where this is all coming from. And so I'm going to make this a regular session because I can bring you on and coach you live. And if you have questions. But the first question that came in was an interesting question. And it had nothing to do with money, but it had something to do with money. And they asked me this question. They said, how do I start my days? Which is really interesting. So yeah, I have a very, let's say not regimented, but routine morning. So I get up really early. I'm usually up by 4:30 a.m. So those of you on the East Coast, don't be afraid to send me anything because I'm up at 4:30 a.m. I'll spend a good 30 to 45 minutes reading, thinking, creating, and just clearing for the day. Then I go to the gym, and I'm usually at the gym for 60 to 90 minutes. I come back. I spend the time I take Budo down on the beach, so I'm down on the beach another 30 to 45 minutes. But during that time, I'm watching the market. I'm watching the news. I'm watching how the market's going to open. I'm watching investments and what things I might do from an investment standpoint that day so I can set things up. And then right around 8 o'clock or so, I'm in the seat. I'm doing the work. I'm doing the things that I'm doing. But the fact of the matter is that how I start my morning sets up my day. And it is the routine that I use that allows me to know what's going on in the economy, know what's going on with the market, strategize how I'm going to use it or adjust or make some changes in doing that. And then I get on with my day. Now, market closes around 1 o'clock Los Angeles time or California time. So I will also watch the last hour of the market if I can, if I don't have meetings or calls or I'm not speaking somewhere. But that's really the gist of it. The key with wealth, the key with your money, the key with anything is that you are proactive, that you are in the game doing the things that you want to do to make it happen. If we're a passive passenger in this thing called life, if we're a passive passenger in this thing called wealth, if it happens, it's going to happen by coincidence only, happenstance only. And typically that's not sustainable. And that's where we start to have the challenges. So I want to be proactive. I want to be intentional. I want to be conscious. I want to be aware and do all of that. And I want to take care of my thinking in the morning, my health in the morning, my well-being in the morning, and my direction in the morning. and I do all of that. My wife doesn't wake up. She wakes up about 90 minutes or so, 2 hours after me, 6:30, and then we have some time in the morning too. So that's the morning. Now, I have some questions that came in, but I did see, Jeru, did you have a question? I'm going to see if I can bring you on. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Mel. How are you? Good morning.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's always good to be seen, isn't it?
It is absolutely. Listen, I want to thank you, and I'm sure you've had this more than anything else. Man, what you're teaching us through your lessons on money makes a big difference. My little son is home; he's not feeling well, so he wants to tap on me all around. That's him. Say hi. All right, so Mel, I want just to, in order to get this guy set up here. He's what, when you get these young ones, they control your life.
Yes, get a puppy. It does the same.
Well, look at it. So, quick question, Mel. Listen, yeah. Here's my question. As an entrepreneur, I therefore haven't had the traditional nest egg that most people have. Have young ones now, and I, short of saying this, that there's a certain part of me that freaks out saying, I have no idea how to catch up. I didn't have a steady, 401k like everybody else and put money aside and have this huge safety net for the future as we all get younger. And I'm concerned that I literally have no clue where to start. And what would be two things? Where would I start? And then number two, what's my quickest way to put money aside for a future day, with these young kids around? What's the strategy that I could employ? Or what are some of the things I could do to start putting money away intelligently enough that will be there for a future rain day just for the family?
This is such a good question. I'm so glad you asked it. So now, here's the thing. Let me ask you a couple of questions. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm not a problem. I'm 49, going to be 50 next month. No, sorry, next year in April, I'm going to be 50.
Cool. Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one. All right. So here's the thing. Let's just talk a little bit just conceptually about what I want to make sure you have in place, especially, they say, we're not in a recession. Technically, we are in a recession, technically. But I don't want us to buy into the media and the hype about, recession, let's panic, fear, let's do this. You're an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, you have the great gift of being able to affect two sides of the equation. See, too often, the only thing we can control is our expenses, and our income, we can ask for a raise, we can do a couple little things to maybe do something, maybe get a side hustle. But as an entrepreneur, we control the income. We have the opportunity to say, I'm going to do a launch, I'm going to do another sale, I'm going to do another promotion, I'm going to get another client. And so we can affect not only the expense side, but the income side. And with that gives us great control over our wealth creation. Now, time is the greatest wealth lever. Now, granted, you're 49, you're going to be 50, you've got young ones, you've got a shorter runway, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. Right. We need to get on the bike and start going. So the first thing is all wealth creation is a behavior. It has more to do with the behavior than it has to do with money, because if we can get the behavior where you're habitually putting money away and habitually investing, you got another decade and a half ahead of you, even before the little ones are old enough to go to school, go to college, to be able to make that happen. So what that means is a couple things. I want you to avoid destructive debt. Meaning financing lifestyle, financing consumerism. If we're going to use debt, we're going to use it for wealth creation, not life curation. Okay, lifestyle curation. We forget the social media, we forget the media, we quit comparing ourselves, and we focus on what the definition of your life is, how you want to make it happen, and and you stay on that path. So that's the first thing. The second then is I want to make sure that we have an automatic transfer of cash to at least a high yield cash account to start. Then we need to invest it. But I want to take the money out of sight, out of mind, so it is allocated for investing. Here's what happens with most. We make our money, we pay for our lifestyle, and we look at what's left, and then we decide we're going to invest that. The problem with that strategy or that priority structure is that we're creating a future on the scraps. And I get it. People will be listening and saying, I can barely pay my bills. And I understand that's a separate question we need to talk about. But what I want to do is I want to flip it. I want you to make money. I want investing to be the priority, and then your lifestyle will be made from that. And if we don't like the lifestyle that we can make from that, then now what's important is that we start to affect either the expenses or the income to change the lifestyle, but not change the investing.
Makes sense.
Investing has to be a priority.
Makes sense.
And so the way that happens is that whether it's 10%, 15%, in your case, I'm actually going to push you to say, I want you in the 20 to 30% range where a lot of income is going towards investing so we can front load it now and let time do its work. It then goes into a high yield cash account. So let's just put some numbers. Let's say you're making $10,000 a month. If we can get $2,000 a month to go to a high yield cash account automatically, out of sight, out of mind, I don't want you to see it, because then the temptation to use it for other things is there. Then we invest it. Okay. But first we have to get the habit of moving it out. The investing then is this. Look, and I can't give specific investment advice because I don't know your situation. However, I do know that the market, even though we're having a rough year in the stock market this year, although it's up today, the market goes up 8 out of 10 years. The average returns on the market is anywhere from 9 to 12%. So if we sit back and say 10%, I want you in a diversified portfolio in the market for a period of time. Now, when you say how's the quickest way, the tendency is to take inordinate amount of risk beyond your risk capacity or your risk tolerance because you want to make the money fast. That's how I got caught in a Ponzi scheme. That's how I lost 1/3 of my net worth. I'm not against speculation, but I am against betting your whole future on the speculation. And so what we want to do is, listen, wealth building is actually a boring pursuit. And so wherever you bank, I want to transfer to a high yield cash account. It'll get you about 1.25% right now. That could be at the bank, but a different account. It could be at a different institution. From there, we're going to put it in a low-cost index or ETF fund, broad-based market, S&P 500 or something like that, that we can then move with the market. We're not going to pick individual stocks. We're not going to try to time the market. We're going to systematically get in the market over time and know that time will take care of it. And if the market continues to perform, look, we might be in the down 2 years. That means that everything's going on sale. Okay? And I don't know about you, but when Nordstrom's is having a sale, my wife isn't running out of the store. She's running in the store.
That's true.
So what we want to do is we want to systematically stay in action. I'll give you a statistic. I'm going to be 61 this year. Okay? So I've lived through 7 recessions, 8 bear markets, 40+ rate hikes, the S&L crisis, the 9/11, I've lived through all of them. I'm still here. But here's the reason I think this is important. I got scared. And a lot of people are scared now. I got out of the market. I didn't have a process. I didn't have a system. I didn't have something to follow. I stayed out of the market and didn't reinvest because I was so scared and I didn't know what to do and there's something to follow. I went back and I did the math and I said, if I had just continued to invest the way I was investing before I ran away from the market when I got scared out, how much more would I be worth? That number was over 3.9 million. My fear cost me $4 million. And too often what's happening, and I see some questions that have come in and say, should I just move to cash? No. We need an emergency fund. We need liquidity to give us peace of mind and to take care of opportunities that might come up. But we don't go to the sidelines and think that we're going to get ahead. Mm-hmm. We don't take inordinate risks. I don't want you betting everything on crypto. We watched it go from 70,000 to 20,000. As much as they say right now, oh, it's a hedge against inflation, they don't know. It's a theory because they've never lived through inflation. And right now, it's not proving it out. Mm-hmm. So I want you to use tried and true investments, but the key is really the habits and the behaviors. Let's get the money moved over, have the money automatically invested on a regular basis so your dollar cost averaging in, and set it and forget. And we'll check the pulse on it once a month. We'll check a pulse on it once a quarter, but we have to get you in the game. And then if we look at it and say, hey, Mel, I'm not making enough money to do that, great. Let's talk business strategy. Let's increase your revenues. Let's take the first sale every week of service or something and use that to put away. I was talking to a group of hairstylists, and that's exactly what I told them to do. I said, your first service of the week. You're off Sunday and Monday. You come in Tuesday, that first service Monday morning, whether it's a color, whether it's a wash, whether it's a cut, take that amount, put it away. Take care of the investing first, then get on with life.
Makes a lot of sense. I like what you said because I'll tell you, I think out of lack of knowledge and a false sense of fear, I don't even initiate the habit because, you know, when I think about it, it's like we are waiting for a solution down the road that I'm not even seeking right now. So I'm in that fear status where, like, okay, I don't understand the economy. I don't know what is going. I got young ones, but I know very well that even if I was to, you know, to go with your advice, even 20 or 30%, it doesn't. I don't worry about putting that aside because, listen, Mel, there's a point in time that 30 and 20% wasn't even there, right? Yeah. So it's not, you know, it's a matter of discipline and lifestyle, like you said. And knowing that I'm playing that long game, I think that is something that even for the bare minimum, I know that I can start.
Good. And understand this. The financial services industry, they may not like me at times because they have a bias to keeping it complicated because then we become dependent on them.
That's true.
It doesn't need to be complicated. It actually is simple. Okay. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing. I got nothing to sell. I don't sell insurance. I don't sell investments. I just want to sell you on your dreams. I want to sell you on the promise of financial freedom because I think we all deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's important. And that's the other side of it. I honor you for being so open and saying, look, I'm confused and I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that will hear this or listen to this and they feel the exact same way, but they won't speak up. I want people, you know me because you've known me for a little while. So we have a relationship of trust, but there's no judgment. Look, I make mistakes. I lose money in the market. I make money in the market. I got in a Ponzi scheme. I go, but I'm going to keep going. And any lessons that I've learned, I'm going to bring them to everyone so they don't have to learn them the hard way. Listen, if I lost 7 figures in a Ponzi scheme, that's an expensive PhD in finance and investing that you all don't need to pay for. I did it already.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say to you that by first recognizing it, second, being willing to open up about it, are huge steps to shifting and changing it.
Yeah.
And I'm with you every step of the way, my friend. So things come up, you reach out, and let's keep you going.
Yeah,
you know?
I will. Thank you. I really do.
I want to
And I appreciate what you've even shown
this
me, because
interaction.
yeah, I really appreciate what you shared with me today. So while I have the young ones, I got a daughter who's just gone into college. Well, she's on her third year, and I realized that my lack of intelligent understanding of money will affect their lives.
Yeah.
So the smarter I get about money, the more I understand how to invest, the more I understand how to grow money, then it's not a problem I'm taking, because I've inherited lack of information and that sort of mindset. So if I am able to wisen up now, then I can make a difference in their life. So I just want to appreciate what you shared.
Yeah.
And,
It's so huge, because I don't know about you, but I was raised in a household where it was impolite to talk about it.
mm,
So how do we learn about it?
yeah,
You know, if we're not going to talk about it. And one of the greatest gifts you can give your children is that when you're in your later years, you're not knocking on their door and saying, I ain't got no money, I gotta live in the basement. We don't ever want to be a burden to our children. No. Which then says this, and I know you have a young one, you've got one in college. You have to take care of your financial future first.
Yes.
Because if you're struggling, worrying about whether they're going to pay, how they're going to pay for college or anything like that is useless.
Yeah.
So we'll deal with the college funding and some of that stuff as a separate issue once we know that your and your wife's financial future is taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So here's my commitment to you, that I'm going to go back, and that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. We're going to set up a system where we can take it out and forget it. That's a commitment you got.
All right, my friend.
All right. Always appreciate you, man. I love what you do, and I love.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you stepping up and showing up. Thanks, Drew. Someone would know this. You'd think I'd learned the rules of the road before I do this, but our friend Evan Carmichael, Drew's my friend. Evan Carmichael said, "You got to do this." So I started doing it, but I didn't know the rules of the road. That was a great question. That was something that I think is huge, and for people to raise up and to be aware and to be, listen, here's the thing. Too often we look at where we are financially, and it's easy to beat ourselves up. It's easy to blame. It's easy to say, I should have, I would have, I could have. Yeah, we all could have invested in Amazon when it first came out as an IPO, and we'd all be billionaires. But that doesn't serve us. So wherever you are, whatever the decisions are that you made that got you to this financial space and this financial place, they just are. It's the reason we need to understand it is so we know where we're starting from, not to place blame. The reason we need to understand it is to try and pull out the lessons from what happened. The reason I do things the way I do financially and investing wise and all of that is because I changed the rules in my life when I lost all that money in the Ponzi scheme. So the time that it really costs us is when we ignore the lessons and we don't change our habits or our behaviors, and we do it again. So I want you to not demonize where you're at, not beat yourself up, take the big stick of the past and beat yourself up. Look at it and say, all right, what did I learn? What am I going to do differently? What do I need? What's lacking? Like Drew said, he says, I didn't know what to do, but he spoke up, and now we'll give him some direction and give him some support and everything. It's so important that we do this, especially now, whether we're in a recession or not a recession. During uncertain times is the greatest time for millionaires to be made, and this is what I think why I think we need to really stay focused on this. If we choose not to talk about money, then if you're having money issues, which I think that they're just symptoms of habits, then we have to talk about it to solve it. Okay? All right. If anyone else has questions, I'll bring you on just like I did with Drew. But I have some questions that also came in on the hotline. So let me get to some of those too, and we'll see if other people have questions. And like I said, I'll go for a bit here because I'm just here to serve. We're going to do this regularly, at least once a week, maybe more. So the more questions that come in, the more I'm going to come out and serve. I want to have these safe, sane conversations around money. You know me, financial freedom, I think, is your birthright. It's something that we just have to go claim. And it isn't about the money that we're talking about. It isn't. The money is what it does. It's about our ability to control the moments of our life. Our ability to decide that we get to live a get-to life instead of a have-to life. That I decide that I'm going to take on a project, I'm going to go to work because I want to, not because I have to. And when we have that kind of freedom, we have choice, we have options, we have alternatives. And as far away as you might feel that you are from that moment, a dear friend of mine, Brian Tracy, once said, those at the top start at the bottom at one point in time. I started in debt with nothing. You might be in debt. We start wherever we are and we start the journey. Even if we don't make it full way, if we make it 80%, it's 80% farther than had we not tried at all. And that's the thing that I want us to do. All right, let me look at some questions and I'll start answering them. If someone has a question or something comes up, let me know. I'll bring you on live. Or I'll just answer the question if you put it in the chat. All right. Someone said, I had $550,000 that was invested in their 401k, that company 401k. It obviously had a big drop at the first part of the year. Okay. It's recovered a little bit now because we had a good July. Should I move it to something safer like a high yield cash account or a savings account or money market account? And I think I answered this with my conversation with Drew, but the answer is no. Here's the thing. We need to look at a pecking order first. If you have no liquidity, in other words, you have no cash sitting aside for emergencies or challenges, then the first things first, I want to make sure you have cash aside. I want to make sure that you have a debt payment plan if you have destructive debt. Those things that are financing your lifestyle, that is financing consumerism and not wealth creation. I want to get out of that. If you're looking for a debt pay down plan, I have a spreadsheet, a worksheet that you can put it all in. It'll help you through it. It's totally free. So it's just a gift. Go to melabraham.com/no debt. So I want to make sure you do that. This is money in a 401k. So you can't take it out without penalty or tax. So you can invest it inside the 401k. Now, since it's a 401k, it's long-term money. Now, I don't know this person's age, but it's long-term money. You're not going to take it out for a while. But parking it in cash inside a retirement account is probably not the right thing to do. You may want to look at the asset allocation. You want to look at what you're in. Most likely, you're in an index fund. You're in ETFs. You are in funds of some sort. So here's what I would do. I'd make sure that you're in a broad-based fund that is low cost, low fee. Now you have limited choices based on the plan you're in. I would then evaluate, do I need to change it? Am I diversified enough? If you want to do what we call a 3-fund portfolio, and this is kind of the Bogleheads, John Bogle kind of talked about this, is that you have a portion of your investing in the total stock market, US. You have a portion of your investing in an international stock fund, so you're getting exposure to the international, and you have a portion, it's probably a small portion, that is sitting in a bond fund. So you can do an easy portfolio to make that happen, but you're still going to participate in the market. Alternatively, you put it into a target date fund, and I've done some episodes on my show about it, where you just pick the date that you might need the money, the date you're going to retire, or the year that you're going to retire. So let's say you're going to retire in 2055, or in 30 years, call it 2050. Okay, you would invest in a 2050 fund, and they would reallocate the assets as you got closer to the needing of the money to be more and more conservative. So they take care of the rebalancing. Now, this is what I would do at the start. when you have critical mass in your investing and you're at 550, that's a substantial amount. Then what I would actually have you do is potentially get with a financial advisor that understands your specific circumstances, that can craft a specific bespoke plan to you, not a cookie cutter, not in a box, but something specific to you. What is your vision for your life, and how are we going to finance that and make that happen? And then execute based on that plan. I have a wealth strategy team that I work with. We stress test my plan regularly. We look at the assets and the allocations. I have it in retirement accounts. I have it in brokerage accounts. I have it in after-tax, pre-tax. We have it in all over the place. And we create a plan. But we are at critical mass where I want to have additional eyes to look at. I could do it myself, but I just want that check. And sometimes that. So hopefully that helps with that. And all right, so let me go to next question. I'm 42 years old. I left my employer. I want to roll over $105,000 into an IRA. Should I go into a target date fund, or should I be more strategic and pick some things? You know, that's an interesting question. One is, again, like I said in the last question, it depends on your critical mass. Do you have a planner, an advisor that is unbiased and focused on creating a plan that fits you? And then if that's the case, you want to have this conversation directly with him. However, if you're just starting out and you're unsure about investing and you're unsure what funds to pick, starting with a target date fund is the easiest, least expensive way to do it. Someone else will adjust the portfolio and the asset allocations for you as you get continually grow your education, your understanding. You can then be more strategic after that. But the thing not to do is to sit on the sidelines because you say, I don't understand. Let's get you into a low-cost ETF index fund. Let the market do the work for you, the heavy lifting. It's you're 42 years old. You've got at least 20 plus years before retirement, before you're going to need the money. In 20 plus years, that the money that's in there, if you just look at the rule of 72s, watch this. Rule of 72 says if you earn 10%, it will double every 7 years, okay? The average return on the total stock market is around that 10%. Let's just call it 10%. You've got $105,000. So in 7 years, that's going to turn into 210. In 14 years, you still don't need it. In 14 years, that 210 is going to be 420. And then in 21 years, that 420 is going to be 840. It's going to end up close to $1 million just by putting it in and participating. So we got to get in the game and stay in the game to make it work for us. Hopefully that makes sense. Because you're 42 years old, you've got 20 plus years. If I can get 10% on average, and rule of 72s, after 3 rolls at 7 years of police, that's 21 years. By the time you're 63, you could have $900,000 in there. Stay invested. Stay in the game. Make it happen. All right? Awesome. Great question. Other questions? Anything else coming in? Let me know. I'll bring you up on live, but I'll go back to the questions that were submitted. This one's a relatively easy one. What do I think about I-bonds? And what are the rules around them? So I-bonds have been around for a while. They're inflation-adjusted bonds. They weren't really something that were being used until recently. I-bonds weren't paying much because the interest rates are so low. But now, with the Feds increasing the interest rates and with inflation where it's at, the current I-bond rate of return is above 9%. So it's a really good return. However, here's the limitations. You can only put $10,000 into an I-bond a year. You can push it up to $15,000 by putting another $5,000, but that has to come from a tax refund. So you can get maximum $15,000 into it per year. You have to sit in it for at least 1 year. And if you take it out, before 5 years, you're going to pay some of that interest back, 3 months of that interest back. You're going to lose some of it. And then every 6 months, the rate of return on the I bonds is going to adjust. So although we're getting over 9% now, as we see if inflation starts to decline, you can anticipate that within that 5-year time frame, the rate of return on the I bonds is going to decline. So it's an investment that you can put money into. However, you're limited on what you can put in. You're limited on how you can take it out. You're locked in it for a period of time, and then you're going to be at the mercy of whatever the rates are as they adjust them every 6 months. Okay? So that's how I bonds work. If this is valuable, if you're enjoying this, let me know. All right. Okay, I kind of answered this, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. My account lost over 20%. Why should I keep investing in a Roth if my employer isn't doing any matching? And I could simply get 9% in an I bond. Okay, I think I gave you the cautionary issues with the I bond and the limitations there. But let's just talk about this. Yes, your account probably lost 20%. If you were in the market was down over 20% at the beginning of the year. That's how we ended up in a bear market. That's the definition of a bear market. My accounts are down. Okay. But what I don't want you to do is say, oh my God, run for the hills. Okay. When COVID hit, when the pandemic hit, the market dropped in probably the quickest market drop that we've ever seen in history. People jumped out and they ended up sitting on the sidelines, and they ended up losing out on the increase in value and the growth in value after the pandemic recovery. And this is why I'm saying that we need to stay in motion, smart in motion, but we need to stay in motion. We need to stay in action. Remember, I gave you the example earlier. If you just came in and you didn't listen to it, go back to the recording of this, that by me running scared out of the market years ago, it cost me over $3.9 million because I stopped investing. Now I'm fine. I mean, I well recovered it, but my net worth could have been $3.9 million more. I don't want you sitting on the sidelines. So I get it. Markets go up and down. But if you look in the long term, the market goes up more than it goes down. Average bear market, 1.3 years. Average bull market is almost 7 years. The last one is 11 years. I'm going to take those odds. The average bear market loss is in the 30% range. The average bull market gain is in the 300% range. Take those odds. Stay in the game. Okay, so I get it that your account lost 20%. Look at the asset allocation. Don't get on the sidelines. If you need to rebalance it, you rebalance it, but you stay in the game. Okay? 9% on an I bond isn't going to make it up, because 9% on an I bond is going to get adjusted every 6 months. And if inflation comes down, that 9% is going to come down, and you can't get out without a penalty. You got to stay in for a minimum of a year. You got to stay in for 5 years, so you pay back some of the interest. So 9% isn't going to be 9%, and it's not your savior. You can only put $10,000 away. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps. If there's other questions, let me know. I'll bring you on. Otherwise, I've got one more question I'll answer, and then we'll call this one done. This one says, I'm contributing. So I'm at an employer, and I'm contributing to the employer's 401k. I am contributing to the Roth portion of the 401k. For those of you who don't know, a Roth 401k is just like a Roth IRA, but it's with a company where you're putting money in. You don't get a tax deduction for it, but when you take the money out at retirement, it's 100% tax-free. This is Roth is a great account if you're in a lower tax bracket or you're younger in age. And you can do an analysis to see whether it makes sense. But we all want some Roth money in there, because $1 million in a Roth account down the road, you take the $1 million out, no tax. There's other benefits to it too. So you miss the tax deduction now, but you don't pay taxes later. $1 million in a regular 401k or $1 million in a regular IRA, when you take it out, you're paying tax. It could be 25, 35. If you're in California, it could be 50%. So we like Roth money. So it says, I'm in the Roth 401k at work. Can I still contribute to a regular Roth? In other words, a Roth IRA. So you have the opportunity as individuals, if you have earned income, to contribute to an IRA up to $6,000 a year, or $7,000 if you're over age 50. But if you're in a 401k, can you contribute, and you're doing a Roth there, can you do a Roth outside, a Roth IRA or a regular IRA? And the answer is yes. Okay. You can, as if you're contributing and maxing out your Roth at the company, which is $20,500 if I recall correctly, and then they'll match on it if they do matching, which is free money, by the way. And then you could also, if you want to kick it up, put $6,000 into a Roth IRA outside, and so you have two Roths going on. What you cannot do is $6,000 in a Roth IRA and more into a regular IRA. You must have your max combined on all IRAs is $6,000 if you're under age 50, or $7,000 if you're over. Okay, hopefully that helps. Kylie, let's see what this question is. We have a 7-year-old with about $2,000 in a savings account. Do you think we should invest that into a Roth for her instead? Kylie, this is a great question. So first off, the 2000, so you can't invest in a Roth. Remember I said the only way you can invest into a Roth or an IRA is if you have earned income. So let me give you a for instance, because we're doing this with my granddaughter, and I did this with my son. So my son is now 32, his wife's 30. They followed these principles. They've got 3 homes and a multi-million-dollar net worth. They've got the first child, the second one on the way. And so when he was 10, 11 years old, I started to pay him a commission for doing work for me. So I would get the deduction. He would have the income on his tax return. Now, because of the way the taxes worked and the standard deduction, he really didn't pay any tax on it. But because that was earned income, he was able to contribute to a Roth or to an IRA. But if it's not earned income, then you're not eligible to contribute to a Roth or an IRA. And what I mean by that is that it's wages, it's 1099 income, it's not interest, it's not dividends, it's not capital gains, that's not earned income. Okay, so that doesn't qualify you to get a Roth. So one of the first things is that she's got $2,000 in a savings account, but she's not earning income other than interest on the savings account, then she's not eligible to go into Roth. So what do you do? What I would do is simply, I would invest it. I would move it from a savings account because she doesn't need it right now. I would move it from a savings account and put it into some sort of ETF or index fund that's going to follow the market. She's not going to touch the money for years, decades. And that 2,000 will continue to grow. It'll go up and down in the short term, but in the long term, it'll continue to grow tremendously over the long term. Okay. But she can't do it in a Roth right now. Now, if you have a business and you want to pay her, she has earned income. Now she can qualify to put money into a Roth. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Kylie. Let me know, and hopefully I pronounced your name right. If there was other questions around it, please let me know, and let's make sure that we keep it going. All right. So, you do have a business. Awesome. Are you cool if I bring you on, Kylie? Hey there, how are you?
Hi.
I love when technology works.
I know, right? That's great. Thanks for answering the question.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So you do have a business?
Yes.
Cool. What kind of business is it?
I am an interior designer.
Cool. Do you want to give the name of the business? Let's give it a shout out. What the heck?
Oh, sure thing. All right. It's Oxford Avenue Design, and my handle is just Kylie Lockett. So oxfordavenue.co is the website. Awesome.
So here's the thing. I started paying Jeremy when he was 10 years old. It wasn't a lot.
Okay.
It was like 125 to 175 bucks. And he was doing stuff for me around the office. Now, ultimately, he started to figure out computers. He did my very first website and all that. Now, and I don't know your structure of your business, but in the States, there is a special rule if you have a sole proprietorship, it doesn't work with
I
corporate.
do have a sole prop. Yeah, that's
Okay,
what I
but
am.
if you have a sole proprietorship, you can pay your child without having to pay Social Security tax, unemployment tax, or anything. So when I was paying Jeremy his $175, it was a straight check because it wasn't subject to Social Security. So it didn't cost me anything to do it. I took the deduction. It went on his tax return. And he had a standard deduction, so he didn't really pay tax on it. But it was done as a salary to him. Now he's got income. And since he's got income, we then can use it as a vehicle, and that's what I did, is use it as a vehicle for him to learn about money. How do you deal with money? What do you do with it? How do you invest it? How do you save it? How do you get generous with it and contribution and all that? But at the same time, he started to pay for his lunches. He started to pay for some of his toys and clothes. So he started to learn the value of money and how to handle it. And then we could have different conversations around it. So we used his years, and then he started his first, I just did, in fact, his episode. So his episode goes live tomorrow.
Wow, that's perfect.
So you'll watch us talking. It's the first time we ever really had a conversation around some of it. And he talks about how he started and what he was thinking about and it impacted. So that'll be live tomorrow
Awesome.
on the show. You'll see it on YouTube or on the podcast, either way. But
Great.
he's then started, but that's what kind of sparked this entrepreneurial thing with him. And said, I can control my future. And he started doing stuff for pay while he was 15 years old. And all of a sudden he's getting clients and he's doing other websites and everything. But it allowed him to realize that he had the possibility of taking control financially, and I could work with him in the process. So instead of putting money away for the child, they were putting the money, and the other thing I did with him is I matched him. So
Okay.
So if he wanted, like when he came down to getting his first car, they said, here's the deal. I will match your down payment. I will take care of the insurance, and I'll match your payment. But that means that you have to participate. So if you come up with zero for the down payment, you get nothing from me. If you can't afford can't afford a payment, you get nothing.
Right.
So I wanted him to strive for something, but at the same time feel supported. So instead of handing him the money, which he could have easily done, I said, I'll meet you halfway.
Awesome.
And so you can do that. So for instance, if you end up paying them, let's say you end up paying them $2,000, and they're going to put $1,000 into an IRA, a Roth, you could match, because she had $2,000. You could say, I'll match and put $1,000. I'll fund the other $1,000. But what's happening is it's not just giving them money; it's giving them and empowering them with knowledge, with tactics and strategy that will serve them the rest of their life.
That's really great. So in order to basically, would I just need to make a paper trail of that transaction to make that viable?
Which transaction?
Like the money that she is getting from me. So I would just basically write her a check. Like she could do like little like organization things around the house or whatever for in my office or things like, and then the savings account that's in her name currently, I am a co-owner on that. So would I have to move that money out, or would I draw from that account to pay her and then invest it into a Roth?
So here's what you need to do. She would need to be, so you would have to start payroll.
Okay.
So she will get a W-2 here for the money, but that W-2 will show how much she made, but there'll be no Social Security. There's an exemption, so there'll be no Social Security and none of that. So she will get a paycheck.
Got it.
And then you'll have to do the quarterly payroll tax returns and W-2. So that is a little more complicated, but it's not that complicated. For the benefits that you can create with it, it's not overly complicated. And so so you would do it that way. Since she's a minor, you're going to always have to have you'll have to be on the account. with her.
Right.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
And then she can then move. You can move that money from that joint account into a Roth. You'll open a custodial Roth.
Okay.
For her, and then she can fund the Roth.
Awesome. So then the payroll would come from my business account?
The what?
The payroll would come from my business account?
The payroll would come from your business account. Because then you'll get the tax deduction. Here's the other benefit that we found is Jeremy's pay went way up at a point, and then my income was high enough that I wasn't getting any benefit of having him on my tax return anymore.
Right.
So I let him file as his own dependent for his own tax return. So he was no longer dependent on anyone's tax return. He was on his own. So now we didn't need it, but at one point he wanted to go into film school at University of Southern California.
Yeah.
Which would have cost me $250,000.
Oh my goodness.
So thank God he the entrepreneurial bug. So he went to a business school that cost me a fraction of that. But the idea was that if he had to go there, since he was a non-dependent on my tax, and he just was filing individually, when it came to financial aid or the FAFSA, they weren't going to consider me.
Right.
And so I made him independent for that purpose. We didn't need it in the end.
Yeah. Right.
But that was another benefit that can come out. So we need to grow your business and then grow them in the process. Yes,
that's perfect. That's amazing. Thank you. I love your stuff. Thank you so much.
Oh my God.
So kind.
Absolutely. Keep crushing it. Take care of that little one.
Thank you.
They're an amazing gift. My little granddaughter just turned one.
Oh,
yesterday.
Congrats.
And we got another one coming in January. So.
Oh, they're the biggest gifts. I always say they're the biggest gifts on the planet. All right. Thank you so much, Mel. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, y'all. This was cool. This is session number 2 of this. If you're enjoying this, let me know. Hit me up with comments, DMs. Let me know if you've got more questions or anything that comes up. Let's get them out here. I will let you know when the next Money Mentoring Over Coffee is, and let's keep it going. Listen, I truly believe, and I've said it before, financial freedom is your birthright. Let's give you the path to claim it. Let's make it happen. All right? Most people don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it in a safe, sane way. I want to give you the simple strategies. I got no investments to sell you. I'm not selling insurance. I'm not selling that. I just want to guide you. It's what I've been called to do post-cancer. It's what I believe is what I've been meant to do. It's what allows me to make sense of the cancer. So it's a blessing for me to have conversations like this with each of you and to know that you're moving in the right direction. So if I can do anything for you, hit me up, let me know. Follow the show, the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. Stay with me. I got more training, more stuff coming your way. You guys have an absolutely blessed day. Cheers.